Hello and welcome to another episode of DCU Daily, and we are back today. And as promised yesterday, we are here to talk about the new Joker trailer, the Joker Folie Deux trailer, to be precise. And as promised by Warner Brothers, they have got something very different and certainly unique on their hands. Because you look at the trailer, and it's it's definitely Folie Deux. I think that the name definitely applies. John, you saw the trailer. It was literally hours after we wrapped up the show yesterday that this trailer was meant to drop, and it
Yep.
did. And of course, the Venice Film Festival lineup I think was announced today as well. So this was kind of tied into that. What did you think about it? What are your initial thoughts? And then we're gonna just dive into it because, like, of course, that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, it pretty much perfectly got what I was looking for in a trailer. Like, because I was worried it would go a little bit too far into the plot, but I don't think it did. We're just getting a little bit more with we got a little bit more of like Harley's character, we got a little bit more of the plot which tied into the synopsis we discussed a couple days ago. I don't know if that was yesterday or before then,
it
but
was it was yesterday, yes.
okay, it's all
It's
blending
been a
together.
time, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so yeah, it lines up with that, and we see, the mob like chanting for Arthur and Joker and all of that, and I really was intrigued. Again, I love the cinematography of this movie. There's a lot of great shots in this trailer. Like there's one where he's opening up, I think, into the courtroom and it's just like all white and it like kind of envelops him. That's really good. You have the one, it was in the last trailer, but I wanted to reiterate where it's like the light, the spotlight opens up and he's just sitting down, laying like his head down with the microphone and
Yeah.
and like these shots are just really great and really beautiful. And then you have like, yeah, following. I'm curious with like I'm so curious with this version of Harley. I feel like Lady Gaga is perfect casting and she's gonna kill it. And I feel like this is just gonna be a more like interesting and layered version of the character than what we've gotten recently. And I'm happy about that. And I'm really, I really like, it looks like Walking Phoenix is just gonna fucking kill it again. Um, I don't know if she's gonna get any award, but if she's good enough, I would like to see it. I don't know if she won for. I don't think she won for A Star Is Born, but I think she was nominated. But I like, and it. I'm gonna talk about this when we talk about like more story stuff later. But I liked like all the things they're kind of hinting here, and I really like and again I love like the dreary gritty New York look. I liked that in the last movie, very 70s 80s New York. This is a really great fucking shot. You have the fire and then the reds and the blues
Yeah.
and how that contrasts really well. I feel like give the cinematographer the Oscar right fucking now because like goddamn this is like fucking beautiful to look at. Like look, this is just great. It's just like it personifies these like kind of like the early on of these characters where it's just like chaos
Yeah,
around
yeah,
them and they just
absolutely.
don't care. And
Yeah.
even though that's not real, it's more I kind of like how it seems to be more of like an
I
equal
mean, I didn't even know
relationship.
Brendan Gleeson was in this until the
Yeah,
trailer. I'm
yeah,
like,
no, I remember
what?
Brendan
Like,
Gleeson getting cast a while
yeah.
back, but he but like I like how, yeah, but like with Joker and Harley, I like how they're it seems like there is like some she's like obsessed with him. There is some manipulation there, but it feels like it's less like using her as like a toy for his own like power, which is
Yeah.
is still like a great idea in terms of like abusive relationships and what they were doing with fucking Paul Dini and Bruce Timm did at the time of that and putting it in a fucking kids show. And yeah, like yeah, this great shot right here, and just like a lot of great things from this trailer, really feeding into the idea of the musical. I don't fucking believe him for a second. I don't believe Todd. Oh, it's not a music, bro. It's just a musical. Just
Dude, they
fucking
literally
admit to
sing
it.
in this trailer. There's
They
like
they're
towards the
literally
end, you
singing, and it's
basically,
just
yeah.
like I know he doesn't want to admit it because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to see this because it's a musical, but it's like at the same time, just fucking go full steam ahead. Don't be like you know, I don't know, it's just ridiculous. And I like the trial stuff. So yeah, it seems like we have like I feel like the main plot is gonna be this trial. And
Mm-hmm.
then
the trial of
We're
the
a
century where
trial
he
of the
has to defend
century,
himself.
like OJ
Yeah.
Simpson before OJ Simpson.
Hmm.
Um, and then the B plot is gonna be, I feel like, Joker and Harley, and then as well as like them kind of like falling for each other, and then like having this like I feel like this movie is like gonna be owned by this delusion they have, and it's like
Hmm.
you're gonna really, even though the first one kind of had that as well, this one's really gonna be like questioning what's real and what's not, and I really like that.
Hmm.
Um, and it just seems to be like a really intriguing look about these characters and looking at it differently, but like keeping the core of what makes them so good. So like they gave us just enough to whet our whistles a little bit more, but not like giving away the entire. I don't think it gives away the entire movie, and and the editing of the trailer is really good. So it was like the perfect trailer we could have got. Like this is exactly what I hoped for, and I'm so happy that we got it because if they just revealed the entire fucking movie, I'm like, oh, come on, man, really? But they didn't. They just gave us a little bit more of the vibe of the story, and that's it. And that's all we got. And I liked that.
Yeah, I mean it's to me it's exciting to see that while this trailer is not like the musical trailer that the first one was, which really kind of leaned on the beat of the music, you get much more of the story here, and I really am excited to see. Again, you get a sense of what the dynamic between Joker and Harleen Quinzel, as they call her in the synopsis, is going to be. But yeah, I mean, Derpy said that he thought it was just okay. Um, but it's
Yeah, I mean, it's
well,
not gonna be for everybody because I know a lot of people
yeah,
are like already like, oh, again, the whole musical debate.
it's all
Um,
yeah. I mean, this is probably also the first movie that's going to have that Elseworld branding, right? So like that's going to be interesting to see how that works. Although I don't know how prominently they're going to feature any of that. Certainly not within the movie itself, but it's I guess you'll get the logo. But as far as the trailer goes, overall, my first reaction was like, I'm like, this trailer, it didn't sing to me the way the first trailer did, but the trailer rarely gives you a lot more of that, like the nuance of this story, right? Because the first trailer really didn't give us. I don't think any of us were talking about the trial of the century. We weren't even really talking about the idea of a trial outside of just speculating. Okay, so he's gonna be on trial. You could see that and we had some images and some shots to hint at it, but this trailer really tells you that yes, the focus of the movie seems to be where all of these events will revolve around the idea that he's put on trial. Which, I
mhm.
mean, he shoots a guy on TV. I'm like, what is? I mean, what is there to try him for? The guy is like, it was on
Because it
national
might be like
television. This
pleading an insanity plea.
yeah, I
So
guess
it's like I
yeah,
think like what he might be trying to do
okay,
is like stay in Arkham
yeah,
Asylum, Arkham Hospital, whatever it's called in this
right,
universe, and not be transferred to like Bel Rev. And
right.
so, or whatever the or black or yeah, is it? I get my prison. I know Blackgate is one. I think
Belle
Bel
Reeve is
Rev.
the one that showed in the Suicide Squad movie, right? Like, isn't
Yeah,
that
so
the
they have Bel Rev, and
yeah,
then they also have Blackgate. Blackgate's
yeah,
another one. I think
yeah.
um I think that he's like trying to like plead insanity, and like he's trying to go crazy throughout, and he's like represent it looks like he's representing himself, and he's just like trying to go fucking crazy so
Right.
that he
Yeah.
can like.
Absolutely. I mean, he is like you said. Like as you could see clearly, there's parts in this movie where I guess he's defending himself, and and very adamantly so. What I really enjoyed about the trailer was that you get to see more of those musical elements, and I love to see that all the callbacks to the first movie. Clearly, them being on stage here, it looks like they're gonna redo that music that comedic performance that he's meant to be giving, and now he's got Harleen Quinzel with him. I do wonder though, because this trailer clearly implies that the origin of the Harley Quinn character is going to be quite different than like she was just his psychiatrist and eventually
Mhm.
falls in love with him. Like, what do you think about that? It seems like here she's just like, oh, I saw this man, and then all of a sudden, and then I didn't feel alone anymore, and it seems like she ends up in there with him, and even before, like she's the one who smashes that window of the storefront and then walks away with the TV with his picture on it. So I guess she's not all there to begin with. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah,
speculating like
I,
how all that ties together.
what I wanted to get into,
Yeah.
yeah, essentially with Harley. So what I wanted to talk about was Harley for a little bit. So now I don't know if it was confirmed in the synopsis or Todd Phillips confirmed it. It doesn't look like they're going with the typical psychiatrist patient story. It looks like she's gonna be another inmate, like another patient. Like it seems like what I gathered. Now I could be again. This is just kind of like a little theory, like a half a theory. Um, where she is just kind of like a relatively normal woman, like going her day to day, and she gets like more and more upset like from the outside looking in, which I think adds to the delusion of it all, of like the Harley Quinn character, which I really like. And she's like an outsider looking in, and she like just like as like as like fucking girls did when fucking Ted Bundy got arrested, and they're like, oh my god, he's so hot, like he can't be a serial killer, right? Like they're gonna probably like add that in as well, and so she's gonna like get more obsessed with him. And it looks like with her smashing the glass and stealing the TV, it looks like she's trying to get arrested on purpose to be with him. I could like with her, knocking the TV out. That's my theory. Like she gets so obsessed with him to the point she gets herself put into either Arkham Asylum, prison, wherever he actually is. And this was definitely my favorite moment from the trailer. And then she gets with him, and then like the whole like movie starts to like blow up. I feel like that would be like a good first act into second act point. But yeah, I that was as I was saying to you backstage, I love the shot of him like beating the judge with the gavel, like because that's such like
That's just
that
about
is
the
like
most deranged thing, right? Like
it's
that
like
we have.
that's like
Yeah.
the most perfect Joker. That is like the most Joker thing that has ever been put to film, I think. That is just so, and I love how despite Todd Phillips' like very grounded portrayal of Joker, like, it's a little bit more like real than, typical. But like I feel like with how he's doing this, really adding into this like crazed delusion of not just him, but of Harley as well, but mainly him, how we're gonna get real crazy Joker. Like we're gonna get
Mm-hmm.
some in like
Yep.
the shit we haven't gotten since like Jack
Yeah.
Nicholson.
It's really
Like
unhinged.
I have a
Right.
lot of problems with Batman 89. Jack Nicholson definitely wasn't one of them. That was like Joker as Joker could be. Where he was just like he's like, I just want to, create art. I want my face on the $1 bill. Like, that like sort of thing. Very, and I feel like we're gonna get that a lot here. Like, no knock on Heath Ledger. It's just like at times Heath Ledger didn't feel very Joker like. Like he just felt like a scary guy in clown makeup sometimes. Not to knock
Wow.
him, it was
It's,
still a brilliant
I'm just saying,
performance,
man,
and
that
he was a
those
great
them be
villain.
fighting
I'm just
words with
saying
a lot of people.
sometimes he was not as Joker as he could have been, but it made sense for the Nolan verse. It was again more realistic, but I think Todd Phillips is going to like really, for lack of a better word, go crazy here and really be like, okay, I really want to bring in these like really joke, because like he said this at first in the first film, where he's like, I wanted to make like this like dark like crime drama type of thing, but then I
Right.
kind of added like Joker into it so I could like sell it.
Right.
But I feel like what Todd Phillips, he's like, okay, they're giving me carte blanche. My movie made a
Mm-hmm.
billion dollars
They gave
without
him twice
China,
the
and it
amount of
was
money
this,
as last time. Yeah.
and it was like they're like,
Yeah.
okay, you do fucking do whatever you want. He's like, okay, I'm really gonna go crazy with this Joker thing. I'm really going to take him to the next level and give people the Joker they want to see. That give them like Joker, and like not necessarily comic accurate, just like that pure insanity that people really like just really love about the character. So I think we're going to be getting that a lot here, and I'm really into that. If that's the case, I could be like just totally reading this wrong, but I would be so stoked for that just to see really. have it really
Yeah.
go crazy.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's just clear. You can start piecing this movie together at this point, right? Like, clearly the trial is a big part of it. We know where he starts out. He's gonna be in jail. He's gonna be put on trial. I wonder how much of this movie we have actually seen so far. Like, because if when you go back the other day, um, actually, this is yesterday after we did the Osa Curious show with DC Daily. I went and just I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch some trailers, and I watched some DC trailers, including like the DCEU stuff, and then I watched the Batman trailer again. And I remember, I was like, wait a second. So they included a lot of shots from like the third act, including, of course, when the Riddler gets arrested. That is very like late into the movie, and you see in hindsight that they weren't shy about showing you parts of the movie that otherwise might be considered spoilers in comic book movies, right? And I bring that up because, of course, this is another film that is, while it's not part of a larger universe, it's kind of its own thing, like an Elseworld story, like the Batman was. Uh, I get and then if you look at the trailer for like the first Joker movie, that also showed us shots which ultimately were from the third act of the movie. So whereas with Marvel movies, they're pretty famous for not wanting to show stuff from the third act because they're spoilers and stuff. Like, for example, Deadpool and Wolverine, they, I think, were refraining as much as possible from showing us anything from like the final fight, whereas you get to see more of that. I mean, do you think we have seen anything that's potentially like really consequential to the film itself, or are we still just getting a lot of that exposition and the early bits of the film where we don't really, like, we are really still missing some key pieces here? Or do you think you can really start to put together like A to Z what this movie is going to be like, and it's just going to be all about the experience and again to see these actors and these
Yeah,
just
I'm
masters of their
curious.
craft at
Although
work?
with that, the Zazie Beetz has been confirmed that she's coming back, so
Right.
I'm really curious.
Remind me again. Well, how? Okay, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the first Joker movie. But was she entirely in his imagination, like his
No, she
mind, or
existed. It's just he imagined
yeah?
their entire relationship
Okay,
essentially.
okay. I was trying to remember like how she connects. So I don't know how she will connect this. Maybe she's like one of the witnesses that comes to the trial and maybe testifies and stuff. Um, why do you think? Okay, one curiosity I have: why do they hire Brendan goddamn Gleeson to play a prison guard? Do you? Because you don't just hire Brendan Gleeson to play a random prison guard. What do you? How significant do you think his role is going to be in this movie?
Ooh, I feel like he's probably playing like a known character. We just don't know who that is yet. Because I
No.
mean,
Okay.
maybe just Brendan Gleeson really wanted to work with Todd Phillips. Maybe he was a big fan and he wanted to do it. I feel like he's playing a known character. Who that is, I don't know. I don't know if there's like a known like Arkham
Like comic
orderly
book.
or
Okay.
prison guard or whatever.
Yeah.
But maybe he's playing something that's gonna tease more of something that's gonna happen later on.
By the way, but you said it earlier. I'm like the cinematography is absolutely in top class,
Oh
top
yeah.
notch in this movie. Like, you look at the budget for this movie being twice as much as the first one, and I'm like, I could see where every single dollar of that went into the cinematography, the look of the movie, the scale of the damn thing. I mean, like,
Well,
look at the
not I
crowd
will
work going
say
on here. It's
it. Yes, the cinematographer, yes, and I'm gonna say that, but I will say the
yeah,
editor, color corrector, a lot of the editing with that too.
yes.
So props to them as
Oh
well.
yeah. The color of this movie, again, they're getting that whole 70s aesthetic so right. It's, yeah,
Oh yeah.
it feels like a period piece, and yet it's got, now it's elevated because of just all the musical elements. And yeah, we know that there's gonna be like 20 songs in this movie. I mean, not every song is gonna be like 3 5 minutes long, but clearly, guys, it looks like a musical. Let's be honest about it. Like, I know they're trying to market it as not a musical, but it's a musical. By the way, this whole sequence here, I'm like, I really wonder like how much of this is like particle effects and stuff that is added in in post production with the
Mhm.
VFX, or and how much of this is actually them like doing this for real in camera, like the whole like blowing smoke and inhaling smoke. I'm like, that is another one of those examples of just perfect shot timing. It's perfect shot timing. And then the other thing, you look at the shot compositions here. I know we were talking about this movie will get like a 70 millimeter IMAX release, and I'm like, this movie is it's been shot for the big screen. Like these camera shots, certainly these sweeping wide angle shots,
Hmm.
they are meant to be seen on a big screen in a
Oh
movie
yeah.
theater. Like look at the composition here, right? This is I
I
just
am not a
again
crook.
He's and dude, this movie's coming out on October 4th, literally a month from the U.S. presidential election. I'm like, I can already tell this thing is gonna have, uh, it's gonna have some like viral potential. Let's just say that it's definitely going to lean heavy and from a cultural standpoint, which I think on the Warner Brothers part was a clever move because the first movie like really caught the cultural zeitgeist by storm. That's why it became the only rated R movie to ever make $1 billion, which it probably will have company after Deadpool Wolverine has done his business. But do you think
Yeah.
that based on the second trailer now, like the first trailer was great, now but the second trailer, and you're really starting to get an idea of what this movie is going to be like, the scale of the film, just again, just the look of the movie, and you can already tell like these, the actors in this from Brandon Gleeson, of course, Joaquin Phoenix, Lady Gaga, they're giving it their all. Is this movie one that has a potential to match, if not go beyond, the box office potential of the first one, which made $1 billion,
Whoa.
and that didn't even
I
open to a
keep
hundred
thinking about
million,
that. I don't
right?
know if they will ever get a bill. I don't think they'll get a billion again. I think they would get a lot of money. I don't think they're gonna get. I could see maybe like 600 to 700 million, maybe to 800 million. I don't, but even that's like pushing it because I think that might be again, it brings in the idea that not a lot of people like, and it is a sequel. Maybe it died down. Maybe people aren't going to be into it
Right,
as
right,
much. However,
dude.
the trailers look really good. The marketing is really good.
Yeah,
You have Lady Gaga. That'll bring in her
yeah,
fans.
yeah.
So, I'm, gonna take a drink real quick, but
I mean, again, these
um,
shots here, like, look at it. It's
but
just the way this is made for
it's
the big screen.
beautiful. It's
Yeah,
like that's also a
it's
really good
it's
shot.
like yeah,
Um,
just again the depth of there in the shot where you have the foreground, the background, you have layers to it. It's just it's telling a story onto it. The fact that they have a full house, the guy's defending himself, um, clearly he's really caught the attention of Brendan Gleeson's prison guard. And then you see the whole again this trial being on air. You brought up Ted Bundy. I'm like, I have a feeling this movie is again gonna lean into those cultural references, these landmarks in our own, real life history that it's going to be referencing in ways that it's gonna feel like it's a world away, and yet it hits very close to home for a lot of the audiences, which I think again, clever move as from a filmmaker standpoint to kind of show that where you've got this movie, which again is based on a comic book character, but at the same time,
yeah,
you're getting something that's good. It feels real in a way that it's
it
just like
feels real,
only
but
a
also
step
not real at the
removed
same time
from
with
our
how
world.
like
Right?
insane it is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what are your expectations of like in terms of the critics' reception, just based on the trailers alone? Do you feel like this is just gonna be
I
again one of those movies that gets a certified fresh score with 90+% like the first
Maybe,
one did?
maybe.
Or is this going to be a little more divisive because they might have pushed the envelope a little too far, and maybe, in the process,
Yeah,
while it looks great,
I
because
could
we have
see
seen plenty
both.
of movies that look great, maybe it's just the story doesn't quite
Yeah, it
flow
might
well.
be style over substance. That's also the
Yeah,
case. I don't think that will be, but I just don't. The thing is, it's a sequel. I don't really trust, you know, what people like want with a sequel, and it's just like it's, you know, it's tough because it looks great, but like trailers have looked great before, and they've turned out to be bad movies. So I don't want to say too much like in terms of like reception. I think it'll be at the at the very least liked, maybe not loved, but I think it'll at the very least be liked. I think comic book fans would probably really like it because again, what I feel like they're teasing the insanity of Joker very well. It just, I don't want to put too much faith in it because then I'll be disappointed. And I don't want to be disappointed. Like, so I you know, Um,
By the way, we have been talking about
mm,
Superman, like having that whole 70s, that timeless aesthetic with all the costumes and the extras on set. This movie definitely obviously has all of those same things. I'm like, it's ironic how DC is really leaning into that 70s vibe right now. So, in two very different kind of like thematic like movies in terms of the kind of tone and maybe even target audience that they're going for. But yeah, it's just this looks like it's gonna be one hell of a trip, right? Like you go to this movie and you're gonna escape to another world, which I would say that bodes well in terms of if it's trying to give that escapist sort of fantasy to the audience. That's what people seem to be really going for today. That's why you have movies like, of course, Twisters. You have Top Gun Maverick, Barbie. Those movies that have really just broken out. The first Joker was kind of like that. I think the first Joker came out of nowhere, but this one, of course, there's an expectation, but they've also raised the stakes. Like, you bring in Lady Gaga, you give it a bigger budget. Like, it's got a comic book movie budget, $150 million, and this has to be one of the better looking movies for that kind of price tag, right? Like, we see Marvel movies like I think Black Widow must have had a budget for like $150 million. It did not look nearly as good, and this movie looks like it's shot on film. And even if it is, if even if it isn't, it's certainly they've
it
done all
looks
the
it.
work to make
Yeah.
it feel like it. Um, and I'm just and from a filmmaker standpoint too, it's just Todd Phillips, bet on himself, and here we are, the man, his bet, his willingness to kind of pursue the project despite Warner Brothers not even wanting to foot half the bill for the first film is paying off. It has similarities to Deadpool, and that's the franchise as well. And now we have Deadpool 3, Deadpool and Wolverine on its way to making probably like almost $2 billion when it comes out. It's certainly tracking for that. This sequence right here, John, I wanted to ask you about this one in particular, right? What do you think has happened here? Because this is not them skipping prison. This clearly looks like is the aftermath of some kind of big explosion or something like that, where even Arthur himself is dazed and confused, and then you've got this other guy who's clearly cosplaying maybe one of his cult followers. Like,
Mhm.
what's this an indicate? Is this just one of those things where maybe he's coming to a realization, Arthur Fleck, that he's stepped into some real shit and maybe he's not prepared for that, like, or is this is the moment where he's like, okay, now I know what I'm in for, and because he's got people who really believe in him, or because the one thing about Arthur Fleck was he really struggled with that sense of self belief, right? And
Mhm.
then it kind of ultimately the way the world treats him breaks him down into who he becomes.
Yeah.
But you have to kind of transition away from that to a little bit of that controlled it's that I think this is where Heath Ledger's Joker, I differentiate from your opinion that Heath Ledger's Joker showed that he has that insanity, but he still knows what he's doing. There's even and even when you look at Jack Nicholson's Joker, there was craziness, and yet you knew he knew what he was doing. Like he was a mob boss, and he was crazy, but he knew what he was doing. And I feel like Arthur Fleck so far has not had that to him. But do you feel like this scene might be like that turning point where he's like, "Damn, I have power, and now I'm gonna wield that power." Like, because that's what this. I mean, again, I might be taking a step too far, but like, what do you think about this sequence here?
Yeah. Because I was like, I think I was theorizing this when the first trailer came out on if this is a delusion or if this is real life. Because I remember when people were looking at set photos and set videos of the scene where he's chasing them, people thought it was like in his mind, and it was like sort of like a showing the audience that this is like Arthur's mind right now, where like the Joker is catching up with him, but he's like fighting for you know his he's like fighting for, like, he has like multiple personalities, and it's like fighting for control. So but obviously that isn't the case anymore. It just seems like it's either um I think it's just, yeah, I think that's a good theory of like aftermath of the courthouse explosion. Um and he's just kind of like really up close and personal with the now of like the people who like adore him, and This is definitely all after that because his like clothes are filled with schmutz and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah.
What this
It's crazy though how he now is being chased, and obviously the police car makes sense, but his own followers chasing after him. I
Yeah,
would
that's
just
the thing I'm
wonder
really
what's
curious about.
because you remember in the first trailer, there's this part where like the maybe that's his follower or himself in the red suit and yellow suit, where he's beating up somebody with a stool. And I was like wondering, is Arthur Fleck the one getting beat up by one of his crazy fans, or I don't know, or is it? I feel
I don't think that I think that
it's
was Joaquin Phoenix, but I
okay.
think it's just like again delusion. I think this is real. I think this is really happening. They just want to
Yeah.
like how obsessive like fans can be of like I want to stroke your hair and like oh like I want to smell you like like shit like that. And these guys if they're literally me is Joker, then they're not exactly in of sound mind.
Hmm.
So there's that as well.
Yeah, and again, in an election year, there's clearly a lot of room for interpretation. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
go there. I'm not gonna. But this is it just me or does that judge look like Martin Scorsese? I
I
don't.
was thinking I was
Dude,
literally
am I?
gonna
Am
fucking
I?
say that.
Is it?
But
I'm
I
just
was just gonna get
saying.
into him
I'm
getting
just
beaten with a
saying.
gavel, so I'm
It's
like,
just the glasses give is the glasses, right? Like that's what it I mean,
yeah,
obviously and also this he's a pretty small it looks like he's a man of small stature. Martin Scorsese, of course, famously, he's a petite man. So but yeah. I feel like this is probably one of those delusions where he just like in his mind is like he beats up the judge and then all of a sudden we snap back to reality where he's
back to
standing there.
reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh,
Yeah.
there goes gravity. There it is. Yeah, gotta make that joke.
No, hey, of course, I walked into that one. If not, I was teeing that one. But it is kind
This
of
is what you get for
insane.
backing out of producing. I'm just kidding. But yeah, there was like the rumor where he was like producing it and then he didn't, and then
Yeah,
I don't know how true that was, but
very, very. It would be very meta if that's indeed what they're going for. I am really liking. Again, we're seeing these different angles of similar sequences from the first trailer, and you can see that not only are they going to have a lot of songs in this, but this movie is going to give you a variety of music too. It's not when you
yeah,
look at
yeah, yeah,
those.
yeah.
We haven't got a full list yet, but we
We
got some hints.
theorized a
Yeah,
while
it's
ago.
yeah.
I think we're gonna get like because I mean the song in this trailer it was a Louis Armstrong song in 1956, but it was made in the 20s, so I feel
Hmm.
like we're getting a lot of different stuff here. I mean, I'd love to see I'd love to see like all ranges of music to like reflect different times in his life.
Hmm.
Um, okay,
Great. It's a
that
great
could be
theory
it.
by Zed. Yeah.
But this also doesn't look real. Look how fake this looks, like the darkness and how the
Yep.
two of them are just walking out,
Hmm.
and he's not. So this might be part of his delusion, but I can I can see that. Walk. Okay, so walking. I think he's talking about when she's in the red blazer and she has the makeup on. I think that's what they're talking about. So yes, I would agree with that. If that not this scene, but that scene because that looks actually real. So
Well, here, this one again starts with a spotlight. And again, this is the musical element of it. You could clearly see you've got both fans and critics and just protesters. And then all of a sudden it turns into something where, like, yeah, you see it's not just a spotlight, it's a daylight kind of sequence. But again, the lighting is so well done. And it's just, I think it feels like it's kind of hilarious. Just again, the dance steps, they're not entirely going back and redoing the whole dance sequence from the stairs in the first movie, but you're getting a remix of an evolution of that. Let's call it just that. And then also like three or four different ideas for a poster for this movie. Free Joker. I feel like that sign could become a poster for this movie. The
oh
joke is
yeah.
on you could easily be. There's so much. There's a newspaper ad there or clip out. The knock knock, and it's just yeah, it's fantastic. It's so hyper stylized, and I think it's one of those situations where again, a movie like Barbie, right? Like they committed to the bit. Like it was like we're
Mhm.
not if you're gonna do a Barbie movie, we're gonna do a freaking Barbie movie. And this feels like, oh, we're doing a Joker movie. We're gonna do a freaking Joker movie, and it's a sequel, and it's like the '70s, like kind of crime drama kind of a look to it. then let's go all the way and let's really commit to it. Um, plus also just from the careers perspective, Lady Gaga has had a few like sort of like hits and misses, right? Like where she hasn't quite gotten that awards love that she has, I guess, been chasing, or like certainly she's done a lot of great work, but like House of Gucci was not great. She's had a couple
Yeah.
of like meandering not performances necessarily, but just they didn't quite get there. Napoleon, of course, for Joaquin Phoenix wasn't the biggest hit. Even I don't know what the expectation for that was, but certainly I don't think they were expecting it to flop the way that it did. But
Yeah.
here we
Which
are.
is a shame
Like
because I actually really like the film.
it was a good movie. It was too long, man. And I'm sorry, Ridley Scott maybe just doesn't have it anymore at this point. Um, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna put this comment on screen. I just find it funny. Did you see Doug Eye's comment? Where is shot? There we go. I think you can relate.
that's
Yeah, I think you can relate to
that's
this.
funny. That's funny. I mean,
By the way,
she's too hot to be falling for someone that looks like fucking Joaquin Phoenix, so I'll give you that.
I don't know. She doesn't quite have all the marbles there, so I don't know. That's probably. But what I do appreciate about this trailer, you can see she's sort of really taken by him, right? As just a persona of the Joker. Whereas in the first trailer, it felt really like that she was the driving force in that relationship that they build. But and then but here you can kind of see the other side of it, where it
Yeah,
looks like
she's obsessed with him. Yeah, which
it's
I
an equal
like.
parts sort of a thing, and they're both kind of along for the ride, and eventually they're sort of just accept that whole situation, and we get to see the joint delusion madness, right? Like that's yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. I mean, what do you think there's gonna be another trailer coming? Do you think this
I
thing is gonna
think
get
I
a
think we'll
standing
be
ovation
getting
at
another
Venice?
one like right before release, like sometime like late September, mid to late September. I think that makes the most sense. Um, because I mean, because I'm now obviously it's a different thing, but like because the Deadpool and Wolverine final trailer just dropped, and that comes out in like less than a week. So, well, when it came out, it was like a week. So I don't think we're gonna be getting one for a while. If we do get one, it'll be like sometime in September, I think, because usually final trailers come out like very late. So like right before the movie. So that's what I think they're gonna do. I think we're gonna get one more trailer, and then we're gonna see it very soon after that.
Yeah, and this is gonna. I think. Tell me if I'm wrong about this, but isn't this movie now going to be premiering at Venice? Because that was the whole point behind this
Ooh,
trailer, right?
I
Releasing
don't
today when it did.
remember. I think so. I think so.
Let me confirm that, because that would be. Yeah, you're right. Okay, okay. So there's that Angelina Jolie movie, Maria. There's Luca Guadagnino's Daniel Craig movie, Queer. They're all gonna debut at Venice.
Hmm.
So they're gonna give this thing a glitzy debut, and it's probably also the highest profile movie of all of those to be debuting
Hmm.
at Venice this year. Do you, what are your predictions about Venice, man? Like, is this gonna get a standing ovation? Is that gonna be, because I remember
I
like
mean,
last
the
year,
first year it did.
Indiana
The
Jones
first
went
one
to
did.
con and just
Uh,
flopped on
the
his
first one got
face.
I believe got a standing ovation, and
Did
they gave a standing ovation to the fucking whale. Like, so like
but Whale was like in the running for a ton of awards. It was a great movie. I mean, it's
yeah,
not
but
the
I heard it
biggest.
was
It
like
was a great
really
movie though.
fucking pretentious. But anyway, yeah, I think yeah, I think it might I think it could get a lot of fanfare if it does what if it does a lot of stuff right. I don't know,
Yeah.
because it's hard to because like if this goes into Joker crazy, then critics might not like it, but they might like other things about it.
Hmm.
So I don't know. We'll see. Because like musicals are like a fucking I don't know how that goes because a lot of audience members hate them, and then but a lot of audience members like them. But then at the same time, with the critics. Do they hate him? Do they like him? I don't know. Like musicals are like a weird business, and I don't know how that's gonna like land with people. So obviously we'll see. But like I usually I can have like a good prediction of these things, but like I'm at a loss because this is a like a very out there kind of movie.
Yeah.
Some
It's
critics eat
not
that
your
shit up.
average
Sometimes,
musical, right?
yeah, and
It's
some
really
critics eat
not.
that shit up. Sometimes they don't. So I have no clue.
Yeah. I'm really excited, guys. Like, let us know in the comments what you think about this trailer. I mean, hey, we had Zed talking about like he just can't wait, and I think the second trailer, when you combine it what we saw in the first one, it's really giving us a sense of what this movie is. I know some people might be like, "Oh, did they just give away the whole movie?" Because you when you start to put the pieces together, it sort of tells you a bit of a story where you might be like, "Oh,
Mm.
okay, I kind of know what happens in this movie." But people thought the same thing about the first movie, and you look at the way that movie ends, nobody really saw that coming. Do you think this movie is gonna try to repeat or maybe recapture that magic and kind of go down the rabbit hole that M. Night has gone his entire career, where he's basically tried to turn that big twist ending into a trademark of his? Like, do you think it would be prudent for them to try to replicate that kind of a twist ending, or does it even? And then another side of that question would be, do you think the audiences will go into this movie expecting another twist ending, or would they be satisfied if the movie just sort of like, okay, it kind of ends in a way that feels inevitable, and but it's not surprising? Because the first one, of course, was a shock twist ending to the film, how it ends up. But do you think that kind of sets that expectation for the second one to do the same, or are they going to go in a different
Yeah, the
direction?
first one didn't really have like much of a twist, though. I mean, you have the twist with like Zazie Beats, and like he's just captured by the end. It was. I mean,
No,
he
what I
left it
mean is like in the
purposefully.
third act, he shoots Daenerys' character. I'm just like, that's a
Oh,
big, like, I'm saying like it was one of those like, you do not think that's what that movie, where the movie was gonna go. You know what I mean? It's like it's not like a big. I mean, the reveal is the Zazie Beat reveal. That's not so much what I'm talking about. I'm talking about
okay.
just
I
the
didn't
shock
think of that as a.
value.
I guess yeah, it's more
Like
shocking than a
it's okay.
twist.
So let me restate that question. Do you think this movie is gonna have something similar? Because that was a big part of the conversation around that film, right? Like one of the reasons why people just were like, oh, and then it just kind of divided opinion, and yet like the movie just kept making money because people just kept going to see it again and again. It was certainly a big part of what helped that movie kind of have the success that it did. Not that the movie relied solely on that moment, but do you think this one kind of try something similar, or like, because sometimes filmmakers feel compelled to be like, we had a formula, let's put it in a bottle and try to replicate it. Not every filmmaker. I don't know about Todd Phillips, but I'm
Right.
wondering, like, do you think that there's a potential for something like that to happen here?
Um. Yeah, that could be like a good like shocking sort of thing, but I don't know. It's just I'm just at a loss for this movie. Like I just can't. I just can't wrap my head around it. Like you, even as a comic book nerd like me, I'm just like trying to figure out this movie, and I just can't. You know, like maybe that's the point because it is all about Joker, and you're not supposed to figure him out. Like he does.
Hmm.
That's maybe the rough idea that they're trying to do here, but I feel like
Yeah.
they'll probably. I feel like we're gonna have multiple shocking things that like build to like an ultimate shocking thing. Somebody commented, oh, it would be iconic for them both to die at the end. That could be really interesting. However, it if you want to like really go for like, okay, this is Joker's story, then yeah.
Hmm.
But if you're like hoping that it's like ties into more of Batman's mythos, then you can't really have him die. But even then, he was a kid, and
Yeah.
Walking Phoenix is like in his 40s, 50s here. So I think if they do that, they would make it like maybe the idea of Joker, and to an extent, Harley is more of an idea, kind of like how
Hmm.
Batman is showcased in a lot of media, how he's like a symbol, like he can be
Literally
anyone,
in the
and
in the
that's
Batman Begins, he's like,
in
if
I
he
mean, in
literally
Dark Knight
says
Rises,
that.
that's
Yeah.
like what it was
Yeah.
confirmed because
Hmm.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt becomes the new Batman. So
Right.
that essentially could like that was the whole idea of like Batman becoming a symbol. Well, they might do the same thing with Joker, like he becomes a symbol, or where it's like there's multiple Jokers, and then maybe we get like a more
Right.
like iconic like origin for the Joker where it's like, oh, dropped in acid and then like that kind of thing. I don't think Todd Phillips will do that. I think he's just focusing on Joker here. I don't think he's going to go into Batman mythos. So I feel like Todd Phillips would do that. He would pull that where it would be where it would be like a proper ending to the like the duality of it all, like
Mhm.
because I know everyone likes to do a trilogy now, but I feel like Todd Phillips with how ambiguous the first one was, and he was I don't know if he was forced to do this, but he's like, all right, if I'm doing this, I'm doing carte blanche. He's like, I'm gonna do everything, and then he's like, you know what, I'm gonna give this a definitive fucking ending, so I don't have to do a fucking another one
I
of
mean, dude,
these.
but it's Hollywood,
So
right? Like, even when you give it a definitive effing ending, like if the movie is big enough, like John Wick 4, they'll try to find a way to get a fifth one off the ground. Well, unless you're Christopher Nolan, you're like, I'm just not gonna make any more Batman movies. Go screw yourself. So, and he moves on. But it's we've seen examples of a lot of franchises like supposedly come to an end, only for them to be like, oh, this is the most successful movie in the series so far. Let's do more. And I mean, but John Wick 4 is not a perfect example of that either. But yes, uh, it's going to be interesting, dude. Like the biggest thing about this trailer that I think we should point out is it's it looks like this movie is going to provide us one heck of a story to bite us and buy
mhm,
our comic book thirst, because we're not getting another DC movie till July of next year after this. There's gonna be almost a year, not entirely a year, but like an 8+ month wait between Joker, Folie and Superman. So
mhm,
we will get to see this, and then we'll have to kind of ruminate over it, and then we just wait until we get our next DC movie in summer of 2025. I'm excited. I'm really really excited.
mhm.
Let's get into some this is another piece of news that I thought was kind of curious. Like, I just wanted to get your opinion on this, and you don't necessarily need to give me a definitive answer of what you think about this, but just your reaction. Recently, Keanu Reeves was on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and he was asked like, "What's going on with Constantine 2?" And he basically said, the no started to become a maybe, which became a kind of yes, and then he kind of went on to say that right now he's waiting on a script. Now,
Mhm.
Keanu Reeves is not the kind of person who's just gonna like go out there and try to like. At least I don't think he is. He's gonna try to like advocate publicly to get a movie made. But this does imply that we might still be getting a Constantine 2. Does that mean? I mean,
Yeah.
question: Is it gonna be part of the DCU? Is it just gonna be its own continuity, like carrying
I
on from
feel
the
like there
first
would just be
movie?
an Elseworld story. But yeah, I mean, if this was recent, because I remember him teasing it like a while ago, and I was like, I don't know how recent that, but if this is recent, um, then it seems like it's still on track because it was like kind of a yes, kind of a no, kind of a yes, kind of a no. Um, so I think they're just kind of like it's not technically green lit yet, but Keanu Reeves wants to keep people excited, so he's like, okay, we're just kind of waiting on a script right now. I don't think it's like totally yes, but not totally no either, but more no than yes, I feel, because it's
Okay.
just Keanu Reeves is like, "Hey, we're waiting on a script,"
We don't
which is
know
like,
who's even attached to this, right? We don't know
yeah.
who the writer is. We don't know who the
I
director
think
is. All we know is
Francis
Keanu,
Lawrence
right?
might be directing it,
Oh,
but,
okay. Gotcha.
but that's like, you know?
Well, I wanted to run that by you because it was just interesting to kind of like
Mhm,
discuss like what might be happening with. It would be fun. I mean, I don't mind seeing him back as Constantine. I think it was his iteration was a bit underrated for my opinion at least. But as we always do on the show, we go through comments from previous episodes of the show, and you guys are really generous with your comments, whether it's questions, comments, or theories. So we have a couple to go through today. So let's do that right now, John. We had a live show yesterday where we did a movie review of Twisters, and we talked about DCU Daily, and basically we were talking about I guess we were continuing our conversation about Anthony Starr's comments on the character of Batman and how he's just a man with a bunch of toys with a chip on his shoulder. And he stars words, but My Dream in Orbit 1997 responded to that saying it's not what toys Batman has, but what he stands for
Yeah, I
that
think we
makes him a
already
hero.
covered this. I think we
Personally,
already
I can't
talked
wait for
about
the
this.
voice to end. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it's just
I'll
yeah,
reiterate that again. We discussed that comment yesterday, but yeah, I think but yeah, it's not the toys. There's a lot of different aspects that make Batman Batman, so I feel like people need to understand that a little bit
yeah,
better. I know it's hard with like movies. There's only so much you can do. I know there's a lot of Batman movies, a lot of ways to interpret the character, but I feel like, you know, there's, more than what people think there is.
yeah. Actually, you know what? I think it's my bad. I probably picked out the wrong comment because you sent me a bunch, and I think went in and picked out the wrong ones. But let me grab one of the ones from yesterday that we do want to highlight. By the way, Zed, um, you had the this is about the Keanu Reeves story. Okay,
Yeah.
so it said he's shooting with Keanu coming up. Okay, wait.
Yeah,
So
that's that doesn't mean anything.
all right,
He could just
I
be
don't know.
saying that, like, yeah,
I'm
totally.
just
And
saying.
then because especially if he's saying, you know,
This
yeah,
was one
that
of the
was
comments from yesterday's.
yeah.
Yeah. What are
I
your
want to
thoughts
see Horror
on?
Meister Clive
Yeah.
Barker right up. That would be, and again, as me being a horror guy, I would fucking love to see that. I don't think he ever would. I don't think he even likes superheroes that much, but that would just be really awesome. Get like some, I mean, the thing is, people, you'd be shocked like how many people that were in horror do superhero movies. Like, you had Sam Raimi, kind of Tim Burton. I don't know if Beetlejuice counts, but like kind of Tim Burton a little bit. Um, you had James Wan, you had David F. Sandberg, you had Gary Doberman. He did the Swamp Thing show that kind of leaned into horror, but it was like still a superhero thing. Um, Andy Muschietti is another one. Like, there's a lot of guys and gals that go from horror to superhero stuff, and I don't know, maybe just something like kind of like hits that niche, I guess. Um, But yeah, I think, that would be great. Like, I would love to see that, and it would never happen in a million years, but I think it would be pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yep. And then we had another comment. This one I'm just gonna put on screen here. So this is from Cole Degode, and he had a theory for us. I have a theory and would like to think or would like to know what you guys think of it about
Mm,
Lantern Show, as it is an Earth-based show where they're investigating an ancient horror. Although I know the latest synopsis says there's a murder in the heartland of America, to be
yeah.
precise. But and by the way, the context for this is we were talking about the idea that maybe Glenn Powell potentially has signed on as the new Batman in the DCU because he recently followed James Gunn and Andy Muschietti, the director of Batman Brave and the Bold. I finally remembered his name. So, and then some of you guys in the comments were like, maybe he could play Hal Jordan, or he could play Booster
Mhm.
Gold. And so from that, Cole Degode had this theory. So he's saying, what he's asking actually, what do you guys think of an ancient evil horror being Vandal Savage? I've suggested the idea, let's bring Vandal Savage into the DCU.
Oh,
I
yeah.
kind of missed him because I was like, he could have been brought into the DCEU for a big crossover. We never quite got that far, but I mean, again, Cole
Mhm.
Degode continues. He says, I have my reasons behind this horror being Vandal Savage. It is based on Earth, so I don't think it's parallax or search entities. We know that the Lantern show is going to be very much an Earth based show with the two
Yeah.
Lanterns, Hal Jordan and John Stewart. Vandal Savage number two, Vandal Savage's first appearance was in a Green Lantern comic. Very good point. And thank you, Cole. You say you love our show. Thanks so much for the
Yeah,
compliment.
brownie points are
Um,
you everywhere.
Absolutely, but like, what do you think about about the idea of having Vandal Savage sort of walk into the DC? It would be
Yeah.
early. I feel like this should be something they could save for maybe a big crossover, like
Yeah, I
like
think
a Justice League movie, right? Like
it
what?
would
But
be, yeah, it should be.
yeah,
I think he would work better as a Justice League villain, as you said. I don't know, just like not in the comic, but I remember in Justice League Doom, which adapted Tower of Babel, he was the villain there. You could definitely do something like that, but like Vandal Savage, I think should be a Justice League villain. Maybe this could tease Vandal Savage. Remember, because Vandal Savage appeared in an Alan Scott Green Lantern
hmm,
story, not necessarily,
right.
one that happened the Golden Age. Like, he's that old. He's a very old character. I didn't realize he was that old. But yeah, I think teasing Vandal Savage would be a little bit better, teasing him. I don't think it
Right.
should be him. Like, oh, there's something out there, like, but they won't. I don't think he would be the main villain because it could be really awesome, but like, there's a I mean, you could do Hector Hammond. You could try to do Hector Hammond again. Um, but the thing is,
But
that's probably the biggest one you could do. But the thing is, they already
yeah,
did that with the Green Lantern movie, and that was not very great. Um, and so that might be a
yeah.
little bit
Well,
tough because and not there's
yeah,
not a ton of Green Lantern villains that are very well known Earth based. So I'd like to see what they do.
yeah.
But Vandal Savage could work, but I'd like to save him for something more.
Exactly. I think he could be a bigger villain that sort of ties into the larger Justice League. He's a threat that you can really use to bring the league together, even right, like in the new DCU. I still think that Hal Jordan and John Stewart have to investigate this murder in the Heartland because Guy
Hmm.
Gardner ends up getting himself killed somehow, and there goes Nathan Fillion's character. So that's my theory. I'm gonna stick with it until it's proven wrong because I think that would be exactly the kind of thing that James Gunn would go for. This is our third comment from yesterday's show that we wanted to get into. So we were looking ahead on the Osakura show to Deadpool and Wolverine. I know we are here on DCU Daily, but all comic book fans alike, and if you guys are fans of the genre, then you're probably really looking forward to seeing this movie. And if you aren't, that's fair. But a lot of the viewers on yesterday's show were interested in talking about it. So Jay Kells, who's a regular on the channel, he asked or he actually just telling you, John, because you were under the impression, I think, that this Wolverine is from the same
No, I
timeline as
know it's
Logan.
not. I know it's not.
Okay, at least you made it sound like it, perhaps,
No,
so
no, no.
that
I know
Jay
it's not.
Kells is
Well,
like he's
Angelina
playing
kept interrupting
different.
me, so I couldn't explain myself. So,
Okay,
I will
well,
explain myself here. I know
there you
this is
go.
DCU Daily, not Marvel Daily, but so I'm aware he's
Yeah.
playing a different. I said that I know it's a variant. It'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
at the most, it'll be Fox X-Men adjacent.
Right.
It'll be like that world, but it won't be that world.
Right.
So they could have their cake and eat it too. I know he's playing a different Logan. I know it's not the Logan, it's not the X-Men trilogy Logan, it's not,
Right.
anything in between. I know
Right.
that. However, it's not because of like, oh, Logan dies, they can't bring him back. The whole point of Logan, they're like, okay, Hugh Jackman's getting pretty fucking old. Let's and he's like, you know what, I'm getting old. I don't want to, play this character anymore. I mean, I had a great run. Let's end it properly. So they're like, okay, let's end it properly. So they adapt, kind of not really, like they took very loose aspects of Old Man Logan and then they kind of just did their own thing with it. Thank God, because Old Man Logan fucking blows. But they just essentially did their own thing with it. And the whole basis of Logan was that it was a swan song, not for Wolverine, which, well, partly it was, but it was a swan song for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. So the reason I don't want to see it is because Hugh Jackman coming back for another movie cheapens Logan a bit. Like, that was like it. It's
But
still
but
an
the
amazing
logic that
movie.
you just provided doesn't quite add up. I'm like, if it was a swan song, he's the one who made this call, and he's keeps saying he's having the time of his life doing this.
I
I don't
know, but it's
know.
just like, it still
I'm
feels
just
cheap, and the fact that the movie that they're
it's
bringing him back for is a fucking Deadpool movie, so it's like that adds insult to
I mean,
injury.
it's Deadpool and Wolverine. It feels like it's almost like a split. No, like it's. I mean, I get what
Yeah,
you
but
mean
even
though.
then,
I
it's
get what
just
you
like, it
mean.
just feels kind of cheap to me, and it just looks like kind of like a Member Berries movie, and it just like I don't know if they were doing something more substantial, maybe, but like it just cheapens Logan for me, and I just really don't like that. So and here's the thing. I was gonna stick with my morals and not watch Thor Love and Thunder, but friends dragged me
Hmm.
to see it, and that is still by far the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. So
That was a bad call on your friend's part.
so,
I don't even think they were
so
expecting
I
that.
wanna
So
stick to my morals with this and not watch it,
okay,
because I have my
fair.
principles, I got my morals, I
Hmm.
wanna stick with it? Um, so I'm still not gonna see it. I don't think I'll ever see it. Sorry, but I hope people enjoy it. I hope you go see it and you like it. Just I'm just a curmudgeon. Don't pay me no mind.
It's okay.
That's all.
It's all right. It's okay. We forgive you. But
Do
hey,
you though?
getting back to the news of the day, the new Joker trailer, of course. We were really excited. I think we broke it down in quite a bit of detail. If you guys missed it, then rewind back. Be kind, rewind, and check out all the analysis and the breakdown. I think the second trailer, overall, my opinion of it is it doesn't quite sing to me the way the first trailer did, but that's probably because it's not like you cut to the beat of the music and you get something that really goes from one beat to the next to the next. But this second trailer gives you a lot more nuance to like what the story of this movie is going to be like, what the relationship between Harleen Quinzel and Joker is going to be like, Arthur Fleck. And again, it really gives us this a much deeper appreciation for the trial of the century that the Joker is going to be a part of, defending himself no less. And when you add in all the 70s period aspects and you look at the way the movie is shot, you look at the fake Martin Scorsese in the movie, apparently getting beat up by a gavel by the Joker. Um, there's a lot in this movie, and you look at the cinematography, you look at the lighting, you look at
Yeah.
just you can see that these guys are just going at it hard. Lady Gaga commits to everything. Like,
Oh yeah.
you like her or hate her, you just got to admit to the fact that she puts it all out there and leaves it all out on the table. And certainly, this movie, it feels like she's gonna deliver another banger of a performance. And again, they're leaning on some of the greatest hits of the first movie, but doing it in a way that feels like an evolution rather than them just trying to like rinse and repeat. So far, I mean, based on the first two trailers, I'm really excited for this movie. John, what are you? If you were to put it in one sentence, where's your level of excitement for this film?
I am a step above cautiously optimistic. I'm pretty excited. I don't want to be
Okay.
up there, but I'm pretty excited.
All right, that's fair. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. It's a movie that's going to be here not too long from now. It's now
Hmm.
part of the Venice Film Festival lineup, so we'll get to see its first reactions there. Part of a stellar lineup, in fact, at Venice. And the first movie I think debuted at one of the big festivals. I don't remember if it was Venice or not, but they're gonna give this thing a great run up until its release, and October 4th it will be here before we know it. We're gonna be following more of the news. I do believe they're gonna have either a panel or some sort of a presence at SDCC. Certainly, DC does at Comic Con. Whether they're gonna have any of the cast members or Todd Phillips out there or not, we will find out. But what we do know is that Todd Phillips, well, not Todd Phillips, but Matt Reeves and co. I think do have a panel regarding the Penguin at Comic Con this year, right? And we do have some new news from I think it was Entertainment Weekly put out an article talking about how Matt Reeves and Dylan, I think what's his name, Dylan Clark, I believe, the co-producer who's working with him on the Batman and the Batman Part Two, they really have quite the vision for their universe that they're calling the Batman Epic Crime Saga, which I mean, in terms of acronyms, Bex isn't the best thing. I think most people would prefer Reeves verse, but whatever. We've got some news there to talk about. We've got some, speculation to do. It seems like the plans are there to do a lot more than just a trilogy of Batman movies and maybe a couple of spin-off shows. And there was a big article, a big, not a big interview rather, but from Matt Reeves and Dylan Clark, both quotes from both of those guys talking about it in Entertainment Weekly. If you guys have read the article, then let us know in the comments what you think about it because we will be back here tomorrow discussing it in a lot of detail. We wanted to save that for its own episode because the Joker trailer, I think we deserved all the time that we could provide it. So we want to dive deep into that and really get into the nuances of this movie because Joker Folie
Hmm.
Do has a potential to either completely flop on its face or potentially be another $1 billion hit. And even though this movie is going to cost twice as much as the first one did, $1 billion would put it very much in the the air of profitability and something that DC could really use right now because they've had a few duds. And even though the new
Yeah.
DCU is on the way, we still have a year to go before Superman comes out. So until then, we're gonna have to hope that Joker Folie à Deux can hold it down on the DC side of things. But guys, let us know in the comments what you think about the new trailer for Joker Folie à Deux. Did you watch it? Did you enjoy it? Did it raise your level of excitement for the movie? Because I know for John and I, it did. Even though I didn't think it was a better trailer than the first one, it certainly was, fantastic in terms of what it tells you about the movie.
Hmm.
And as a trailer, I think it works to kind of further our anticipation for the film. So we'll be back here tomorrow discussing all about the Penguin. I think what Matt Reeves has got planned for that universe, the Batman universe, that franchise. They're looking to do a lot more TV shows, and we're gonna dive into that, and maybe we'll have some ideas. Maybe you guys have some theories and ideas for the kind of TV shows and the kind of stories from the world of the Batman that you would like to see, and we can talk about those. But save all those, and if you have any questions or comments or theories for that, drop them in the comments. We will bring them into the show tomorrow. But until then, John, go out there, watch something DC related, and then come back here and talk to us about it. You'll be back here tomorrow with another episode of DCU Daily. Until then, folie à deux.